What's up with it?
Hello, hello. Happy to be here.
Yes. It's a blessing to have you here.
Well, thank you.
Introduce yourself, let the people know who you are.
Yes, my name is Pepper Baker. I am a reporter with Channel 5, it's KSDK, news here in St. Louis. Fourth year in the business, so yeah, that's who I am, I guess. That's the only thing I do right now, I guess.
Before we get into the journalism, tell people about Pepper Baker.
About Pepper Baker? That's weird. I've never really been asked that before. Wow, loaded question. I'd like to say that I am still trying to figure out the answer to that sometimes, but for the most part, I'm 27 years old. I'm originally from Florida and came from an educated family, so I have 3 older siblings. My beautiful parents are still alive and everything, so I'm blessed. And who am I, though? I'm just somebody who wants to strive for greatness. I try to be kind to others. I try to just meet as many people as I can. I don't know, who am I? Wow, I'm just me at the core of it. I don't know. That's a hard one. I'll have to come back to that.
What made you get into journalism?
I didn't actually know I wanted to do journalism. I wasn't somebody that grew up watching the news a lot, but I will say I do like speaking in front of people and I like talking to people. And so when I was in high school, I was student body president and used to like throw the pep rallies. And I just loved being in front of all of my classmates, and you know, I would dress up and just do funny things, and I just realized I wanted to do something that showed my personality. But I'm not a singer, I'm not an actor. Maybe I could act, I don't know. But I just figured journalism would be a way to get to meet new people every day and then talk to them. And then, you know, I like writing, always liked writing. So a way to tell somebody's story, you know, captivated me. So that's kind of why I got into it, but it wasn't until my senior year of college that I actually knew that I was going to do it. So it took a while, even after high school. So
you said you made this decision in your senior year. Yeah. Did you pursue schooling? Like, did you go
No, yeah, I went to school. I was playing volleyball. I was like super into volleyball. And that's all I cared about in college. I was playing at the University of Massachusetts in Boston. It's a D3 school. Fell in love with it, and then was an English major because I always liked to read and write. But I liked school, but I would say I was probably more social in school than I was academic. My siblings are really academic, but I did what I needed to get the job done. But I majored in English because that was just the best subject that I was the best in. So. But until my senior year, when graduation came around, I hadn't even thought about really what I was going to do after graduation. And I was an English major. I didn't really want to go into teaching. So I actually did an internship heading into my senior year with a local news station. It was a sports internship, one, because I was already playing volleyball. And I knew somebody from my school knew people at the local news station in Boston. It's Channel 7, WHDH. News Channel 7 in Boston, and yeah, it was cool. I got to for one summer, so 2 months, I went to Patriots summer camp, and then I was going to the Red Sox games and shadowing reporters, and they were teaching me the ways around the system. You know, it was just the first time that I saw journalism as a business and how the ins and outs from inside of the station. So from there, I applied to grad school because I was an English major and I had no actual journalism experience.
So basically, the journalism skills came from the internship?
The internship, and then my 1 year of a master's program at Columbia University in New York. So I went from Boston to New York. Wasn't an easy path. I was waitlisted at Columbia, and honestly, it was something that I didn't even think I could do. My aunt was like, just apply. And I was like, okay. And so I did. I was waitlisted. They didn't let me know I was even going to get in until a week before the school started. So I had a already enrolled in another grad program that was in Boston at Emerson College, same journalism, but there was only 2 schools I applied to, Emerson College and Columbia. And Columbia is Ivy League, you know, it's like, so a week before school started, they called me and said an opening popped up, and I was the first on the list, I guess. And I got the spot, and I had to move to New York within a week. I mean, I only had a weekend to find an apartment in New York, and that was super stressful. Oh my God. So, but that's the point where it changed my life. Learning about journalism in New York, even though it was only a year, was insane. It was insane. And it just continued to lead me here, so.
With that, you said it was insane just that year. What are some of the most interesting stories that you covered throughout your career?
Right. So you asked me, what got me into journalism. I really wanted to do entertainment reporting when I first, I loved the idea of red carpets. I loved the idea of live interviews. I loved, making celebrities who people idolize into bringing them down to a human level and having them tell their stories, and being that kind of facilitator between the idea that we have of these people and then the fact that they're really just kind of like us, they're just, super talented in some way. So I really wanted to get into entertainment journalism, but when I was in New York, that wasn't always an option to cover those types of stories based on what was required of us in that assignment. So I actually realized how fulfilling it was to tell everyday people's stories and not just celebrities. So I guess some of the stories I covered was one of the subway's popular lines to Manhattan to Brooklyn. I think it's from what I remember, it was, I think, the L train. It was going to close for 3 months. So that significantly impacts people who take the subway every day, right? Especially in New York. So one story that made me realize that I really liked telling things that directly impact everyday people was there was a flower shop that operated right off of that subway line once you got into Brooklyn. And they were really worried that without this constant flow of traffic, they were not going to have enough people, because flower shops really operate off of foot traffic. Like, you're not really going to buy flowers until you walk by the store and you're like, oh my God. Or maybe you have a wedding or something that would bring you there. But they operated a lot off of foot traffic, and without that, they were really scared about shutting down. So we were able to tell that story. I mean, the subway line still shut down for a bit, but they felt really they felt like their voice was heard. They felt like somebody cared enough to come in and show the public that this flower shop has been operating for this many years and now it's at risk of closing because of the subway train. So it brought a lot of, it was just really satisfying and gratifying, and I felt like at the core of it, journalism does do a lot of work that matters, and people don't realize that all the time. But everybody needs to feel like their voice is heard at some point. And that's what made me realize I still would love to do entertainment news, but the local news and just talking to people within your own community is super important. So I hope that answered the question.
So have you ever had a story that was just kind of cringy to cover?
Oh,
For instance, I seen that you wrote an article about the recent shootings that happened here in St. Louis that was associated with the alleged serial killer. Mm-hmm. How was it covering that story?
That's hard. It is. Anytime that there's devastation or people die or you have to talk to their family members, that's the part of journalism that is hard to teach in school. It's hard to tell anybody how to deal with talking to somebody on the worst day of their life, and then you sometimes you feel cringy even having to ask. I find that to be a flaw of mine. I'm not the one that's I'm not always great. I've gotten better because my job entails it, but it was hard for me to put a camera in somebody's face after their brother or sister or their mom was shot, or kid, So that one that I covered, the serial killers one was hard. I will say I wasn't speaking to the family at that one, but there was another story in East St. Louis where a mother, left her 5 kids in the second floor apartment that they were living in for maybe not even 20 minutes to go pick up her boyfriend from work. And in that span of time that she went to go pick up her boyfriend, who probably helps with the kids too, a fire started and all 5 of her kids died. And here we are coming in, exploiting the story, and I talked to her father and over the phone, and like got in touch with some people who knew her, and it's tough. I don't think you ever really figure out a way to handle dealing with situations like that until you just keep doing it. And unfortunately, I think sometimes we get desensitized to it. But even now, like, I still get emotional with certain stories, and it's hard. I'm an emotional person. And then when you see people in your own community, or you're in a community that look like you, and you're telling their story, and you feel like, sometimes I feel like it could have very well been my family, or I look at them like they're my family, and that makes it even worse. So yeah, in St. Louis, unfortunately, we have a lot of news like that. We do, and it's tough because I came from somewhere that wasn't as heavy with that type of news. It wasn't always shootings or people dying or loved ones, and I did it every now and then, but I didn't come from somewhere that had that almost every day. And so there's a little bit of a mental health aspect to it, to where you kind of have to check out a little bit and not carry those emotions. Because I'll go to bed at night, especially when I've covered something with a deceased person for so long. Officer Timmons over in Metro East, covered his story for 3 days. I almost felt like he was like almost in my apartment with me. Sometimes I feel like, you cover these stories and you want to do them justice, and you didn't know this person, but you're telling his story as if you knew him to everybody. And like, you want to do a good job and not disappoint his family or whatever. And sometimes I feel like I bring that home with me, and it sits there until the coverage is done. And that's a lot.
Yes, it is. I can imagine so.
They don't teach you that in journalism school.
You gotta have tough skin.
You do, you do. So.
Have you ever experienced maybe like backlash from an article that you published?
Man, yeah, all the time. I mean, anything from like whether my articles, like a typo or somebody, you get a person's name wrong, and they're fixable. At the end of the day, we're still human. Not that it makes it any. It doesn't excuse it by any means, but mistakes will happen, and as long as you just react really fast to it. But I get things too. I get love, but I get a lot of like, I'll wear my hair curly, I'll wear my hair straight. I get people that flood my emails. I like your hair straight better. I like what happened to the curls? It's just, you never can please everybody, So like small things like that, but yeah, no, and sometimes people don't like the way that we take angles on certain stories. So you just have to be really transparent. I've learned ahead of time of letting people know the angle that you're covering. And sometimes, and as long as everything is factual, you're not going to make everybody happy.
So I've learned.
So it gets tough, but you just, you answer them professionally, and if it is a mistake, you correct the mistake, and if it's a horrible mistake, hopefully you won't lose your job over it, but usually things like that can be worked out. It's never to a point that it was so false that it almost like came out of nowhere. Sometimes it's just typos, or maybe a number on some statistic might have been slightly off, but it can be fixed for the most part.
What are some skills that you learned along the way to help you with your career? That basically, like an area you were slacking in, and you learned something that kind of helped you, I guess, get it in order?
Yeah. One, I had to really tell myself not to, freak out right away when things don't seem to be coming together. So I don't really know what you would classify that as a skill, but just, taking a breath sometimes, because journalism really operates a lot on other people's schedules. You have to wait for other people to say yes to you on a turn when your deadline is at 5 and 6 p.m., 4, 5, and 6 p.m. from Channel 5. And you've got 3 hours, 4 hours to get somebody to say yes. So just having like a good, just being calm when things don't seem to be working out. Skills-wise though, multitasking, working on deadline, and what I said first comes with working on deadline. You cannot freak out when things don't work out, otherwise you're just gonna like fall down a rabbit hole of just anxiety. Writing is always a good writer is always priceless. Like shooting is something that I think you can improve on over time, like how to shoot the camera, how to get angles or whatnot. But writing, you can work on writing and you can model your styles after other people who are exceptional writers. But at the core of it, I feel like a really talented writer stands out. How you can start a story and keep people engaged for the entire time all the way to the end. When you make it big time enough, people are going to be doing your editing and your videoing for you, but at the core of it, you'll probably get hired in big time because of the way you write and tell a story. Yeah. So out of all of the skills, I really try to hone in on my writing because that'll stand out. Camera presence, live shots, get better over time. I've had them so many times where I blanked out on camera, forgot what I was saying. Oh my gosh, it's the worst. And I'm a memorizer. I know that that's something people don't really, in journalism school, you're not supposed to memorize your script, but I like to memorize and put in my inflections to make it sound natural. But some people can just get up there and they might have bullet points or whatever. I'm still working to get there. That's something that just comes with more time. But live shot presence is something that I really prided myself on at my last station in Georgia. So that's something that I just think I just always want to be really good at and comfortable with. So there's a lot of skills that I learned along the way. And then people skills. You got to be able to talk to people and not in a way that's like, all right, let's sit down and do this interview, get it over with. Like you gotta massage them a little bit beforehand. You gotta be like, hey, how was your day? Like, what'd you do this morning? Or, I saw that you did this. Oh my gosh, so cool. Things like that. You can't just put a camera right in, unless it's breaking news, because then you don't have a choice. But, a lot of times you just have to have good people skills. You gotta read the room. You gotta know what energy they're on and kind of match it or kind of help them calm down. Because 9 times out of 10, people are pretty nervous in front of a camera, and you're the difference between them being at ease or giving you a good interview, and then them just freezing and not wanting to do it. So.
Yeah, it's something I had to learn over time. Like in the beginning, I just picked up the camera and I just started talking, but like you said, just getting people to ease into it. Because at first I just go right in, boom, 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 with my questions, and then after that, it's like I don't know what to say after that.
Absolutely, no, you're totally right.
You say it's your last station. It's your last news station.
Yeah. So
13 W.
Yeah, it was. Wow. How'd you know that? Probably because of social media, right? Yeah. I went from New York back down south to Macon, Georgia, 3 hours from Tallahassee, Florida, which is where I'm from. New York was a lot for me. Loved it for the time being, but it definitely wasn't something unless I was getting paid a lot and in a really great job. I wanted to be back in the slow pace warmth of the South and close to my family because all my family's in the South. So I spent 3 years in Macon. 13 WMAZ is the #1 station there. It's in Market 120, so it is a small market. Legacy station, been there I think since the 60s. Great people come out of WMAZ. So I was there for 3 years. Started just as general assignment reporter, working, I believe it was Sunday through Thursday. And then by my last year, I was the morning show reporter Monday through Friday, and then I even got to fill in anchor. And in my long-term goals, I really want to anchor. I really want to be on the desk.
That's the top tier?
Yeah, pretty much. That's like, if you watch Channel 5, that's Mike Bush, that's Ann Allred, it's Kelly Jackson, it's everybody a lot of people want to be anchors, I feel like. So, that is a dream. Not to take away from reporting, though. Reporting is really gratifying as well. I mean, you get to meet people every day. So I think that gets lost a little bit with anchoring. Anyway, so yeah, I was in Georgia. It was a great experience. It's a starter market, so a lot of people come right out of school and go to a place like WMAZ or somewhere of similar size. And you just learn a lot. Journalism school is great. I've seen different tiers where it's like me. I went to get a master's in it, but you don't need a master's by any means. You don't. I went because, I was an English major who was obsessed with volleyball, and other than that one internship, I didn't have really just any skills, and I felt like I couldn't have gotten a job right into a news station without doing what you're doing, which is buying your own equipment and taking a stab at it yourself. And I didn't do that. I didn't invest in myself and try to learn so I went to a school and paid God knows how much money I paid for that. So, so I did that, but some people go to journalism undergrad schools. Like when I was in Georgia, a lot of my coworkers came from UGA. So Georgia has in Athens, Georgia, it has a great journalism school called Grady School of Journalism, and you can go there undergrad all 4 years and be a journalism major, to where you get out of college and you don't really need a master's because you had 4 years. And then I met some people who didn't go to journalism school at all, maybe did what you are doing, and then just kind of like do it well enough and make their own content to where a news station picks them up. Because it is a business that you don't need masters, PhDs in. It's at the core of it, you're going to learn on the job. You're going to learn from setting up the camera yourself and coordinating the interviews and just putting the story together. It's not rocket science, but it is important. Don't get me wrong. But it is something that you can learn to do without a 4-year degree or a master's degree. So by no means do you need all of that. But in my path, which is still non-traditional, I don't meet a lot of people with master's journalism, broadcast journalism degrees, and they're still at my level or way past me. So, but for my personal journey, I felt like I needed it, because as soon as I got done with Columbia, I interviewed with a career fair that they had, and I got set up with Tegna, which owns the station that I worked in Georgia and the station Channel 5. So Tegna is a company that owns like 40 local news stations across, maybe even 60, 40, I don't know, some number across the country. And I just got in with Tegna, and then I basically now can kind of like transfer between the different stations, or I can work for a new company. I mean, you don't have to stay with one, but yeah, that was my journey. I forgot your question now. I probably did not answer it. I'm the worst at this. Oh my God. This is hard.
No, I guess you pretty much answered it. One last question. Like, what do you listen to, like, as far as music, TV shows, things like that?
Yeah, I love R&B. I love, I'm kind of, the older I get, the more I like the slow tunes. I like rap, don't get me wrong, but I think I like the more, what do I want to say, kind of like wordplay rap. I really like, J. Cole, even old Jay-Z, old Kanye. I like Drake. Who doesn't?
Right.
The women, I like Nicki. I like Meg Thee Stallion, Cardi. Yeah, I'll listen to them every now and then. But I definitely like poets when it comes to rap. But I love R&B.
Beautiful music, I guess.
Yeah. I like music that I can kind of like, sway to, and
we can listen to as far as R&B.
Oh my God. I listen, you can't get away from Usher. You can't get away from, like, honestly, are you talking new or old?
I'll start with old.
Okay. I do love, like, Lauryn Hill, who's a little bit of a mix of, like,
rap.
She's like sultry rap, I feel like, sometimes. So I really like that. Again, poetic. If we're talking really old school, I mean, I like Gladys Knight, I like Marvin Gaye, I listen to Stevie Wonder. I have a whole playlist of like old school music that I listen to. I would be remiss if I didn't say I love Beyonce, gotta love Beyonce.
What about new?
New, as far as R&B, I've listened to Jacquees a lot. I liked him. He was on a roll for a bit. Oh, Bruno Mars. I really like Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak. And
Anderson .Paak, he's R&B?
He's like with Bruno right now, right? With the
I never really listened to Anderson .Paak.
Oh well, I've just listened to the new music he's got with Bruno Mars. I can't even think of their little group right now, but they just have like a couple songs out. And let me think. Miguel. Oh my gosh, Miguel's the top one up there.
This element.
I wouldn't say so much, but I mean, no, I don't knock her. I mean, unfortunately, I'm not the biggest music head, so I'm the person that will listen to the same 10 songs over and over again. Chris Brown, oh my God, how did I not say Chris Brown? Trey Songz, love me some Trey Songz too. So I don't know if I love the music or do I just like the way you look.
Yeah, that's like how you look. You say Trey Songz, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's a problem. Neo, I love me some Neo, and he's a good songwriter too. So yeah, and then TV shows I'm really into. I like reality shows sometimes, and it kind of makes me think about wanting to be an entertainment journalist again because I watch like The Challenge on MTV, and I watched a series of like Netflix shows. There's like Love Island and Love and Hip Hop. I've watched that. Well, I used to watch it consistently. And then just regular TV shows. I like Snowfall, Insecure, gotta love Issa Rae. And I really kind of take to people who, one, either write their own music or people who write their own TV series. I think like Issa Rae is a great example of like doing something on her own, and then she like became Issa Rae. So I love that.
I'm not really a TV person myself. All the shows named I haven't watched an episode.
Really? That's okay. No, yeah. I mean, if I'm not watching news, I just kind of binge things. So there's a lot of them I'm not even naming, but I do like TV. I will say that.
Coming to a closing, do you have any last words you'd like to share?
Last words. I think that journalism, what you're doing is great. I think journalism constantly takes on there's just a new phase every few years. You mentioned, I think we talked about this whole MSJ thing now. So like, in journalism school, when I was in journalism school, it was much different of what is expected of a journalist nowadays than what people were doing 10 years ago, not even super long ago. And with that, it's hard work. I'm not saying I'm not saying it wasn't always hard. Like it's always been a grind. Journalism is a grind. And now with this whole MSJ title of us having to, a lot of people don't realize what you're seeing on local news is the fact that the reporter is the camera person a lot of times, is the writer, is the editor, is the one that puts it all together before somebody gives a second look at it. And I just think that's something that people need to take into consideration whenever they do watch TV or when they do decide to tune into local news. Like journalists are out here not getting paid as much as I think we should be, but a lot of other careers are like that. But I think that there just needs to be grace with understanding that there's deadlines and there's a lot that you have to do in a short amount of time, and especially when you don't always get a camera person or a whole team behind you. A lot of people think we get a whole team behind us, and it's not. It's us. It's doing it all. So with that, it's important. I hope more people get into it. I think it's important to keep journalism alive. So I hope people feel inspired to watch and support their local news, because a lot of it are young people really out here just doing it and try to inform you and try to tell the stories and try to the good and the bad, and we need that. I think it's an essential job. I mean, when a disaster happens, we're not evacuating. We're on the grounds telling the people who stayed, the people who need help. I mean, we're not first responders by any means, but we're not out the door either. So I hope journalism, I feel like it's a little bit of a challenge. It's on the decline as a business, and I just hope that people, especially our generation who shies away from buying cable, I hope that at some point, maybe when we're 35 or 40, that they realize that we need to pay for cable or help support local journalism.